So hi guys, welcome to a special edition of the Eddie Stobart. What I'm going to be doing is modifying the engine. I'm going to be repainting it. I'm going to be weathering it up. Now I've got to be careful because it clearly states in the magazines that Eddie Stobart trucks were kept clean. They were cleaned daily. Now I've consulted my expert is, so I can see something poking out there. My expert is the mechanics at work. Now obviously I drive buses, which is completely different from trucks. Now our buses are cleaned daily, and I know that our top bosses take a high priority in our buses being cleaned. But they don't do the engine every day. It's just not financially viable. But they do them once a month. So I think it's safe to assume that Eddie Stobart would be doing something similar. The engine would be cleaned regularly, but not daily. So I think some weathering is definitely good. But also I've really been niggling about the colour. It's nearly all red, and I just don't think that's right. I've done a lot of research and I've come up negative just about every time. The closest I've come is some black and white pictures of some same engine, but not the Eddie Stobart. I've looked up Dolly, I've looked up Twiggy, I've looked up everything, and I really can't find anything. Obviously if anyone can find anything, well, by the time you're seeing this, it's probably too late. So I am going to weather it up, and I am going to be repainting it as well. And let me roll the credits, and then we'll go through the whole thought process as well as the actual process of doing it.
I've pounded the road from coast to coast, Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along.
Okay, so here you can see my engine, and I'm not bad mouthing it. It's a beautiful engine. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's so much detail, but you know, the detail is hidden because of the colours. In fact, I'm really tempted to take a picture of it now because I'm confident that when I'm finished it's going to look so much better. Right, so I've sat down and I've analysed this. As I say, I've done all my research, and it really isn't a lot of research out there. Now, there are 4 reasons against modding this. I think you've got to look at the reasons to not mod it as well as the reasons to mod it, and there are 5 reasons in favour of modding it. Now if I allocated a point system of say 1 to 10 for each reason I can find either for or against, I think the points value would be extremely similar, and there are 2 reasons that work both in favour and against it. Now the first reason for not modding it is I'm probably going to have to take some of this apart in order to reach places. So that's obviously a negative point. The plus point is that I get the chance to rebuild it again. So obviously one of the thrills of the magazine is we build this every week, and I get to repeat 6 weeks worth of building again. So you know, whereas I have to take the time and take it apart and prepare it and organise all the screws, make sure the screws are labelled so that I put the right screws back in the right places, I've also got that joy of rebuilding. Now the next point against is the accuracy. I may actually make this may actually be 100% accurate, and any modifications I do will then make it less accurate. But then the points in favour is that I could actually make it more accurate. The less research material is out there, the less chance I've got someone coming back to me and saying, oh, that's wrong because blah blah blah. So building it, taking it apart is pretty much the same thing for and against, and the accuracy for and against. Now another reason against is the parts damage. Sometimes I find, especially with Hachette, is that when you put screws in and then you take them out, it damages the threads, you know, and they don't go back together properly. Worst case scenario, I could end up having to repurchase some issues. So I've got to take that into account. The next point in favour is, however I do it, I honestly believe it's going to look better. Even if it's inaccurate, even if it gets damaged, I think it will look better. The last point against, I want to save till last because I want to bring in another part to demonstrate why. But another reason in favour is I could get away maybe with saying, well, what if I was Eddie Stobart when this truck was bought? So how would I put it together? So it's a little bit, I could get away with saying a bit of a what if. So if this was my engine, if I actually owned this original truck, how would I have this engine painted? And then the fifth reason in favour is it's becoming a cliche, I know, but it's still very accurate. It's my model. You know, if I'm not happy with it, do something about it. So the last reason against modding it is, are you going to see it? And let me show you what I mean. Now this is a lot of speculation because I really don't know trucks. I'm not the biggest expert on trucks. So this is the radiator, this is the engine, this is the exhaust. The back wheels are going to be roughly there. The front wheels will be roughly there. And then there'll be a chassis somewhere around here. And this is the cab. And I think, judging from the size of this hole there, the cab will end up, in relation to the engine, somewhere around about there. You see, that's not a bad little fit. So I think that's not going to be far out. If the cab tilts, the cab will tilt this way. So with having a chassis and wheels, how much of this engine is actually going to be seen? So if I go to work and I get in there and I make this absolutely amazing, and then it's all hidden up with the chassis, you know, how much is going to be seen? Most of this will be seen. And it sort of got me thinking, you know, we've got a couple of silver screws there that stick out like a sore thumb. Does that actually matter? Will we see it? So that's another consideration. Now guys, you know I'm going to mod this because, you know, I wouldn't be making a video just to tell me that I've gone through all the reasons for and against and decided I'm not going to mod, because that would be the most boring video in the world. So you already know I'm on the case. So what I'm going to have to do is, now this is the way I'm thinking. You've got some little plates there, and I want those silver. I think what they are, they're little screw down plates. You put the plate on, it traps the wires in, you screw it in, it just stops those tubes from going everywhere. I think these tubes are flexible and rubber, so they're going to be painted with AK Interactive Rubber Black. That does then unfortunately mean that I'm going to have to repaint this black because it's not going to be a match. I think these parts here are going to be silver, where the rubber pipes are going to come out, and some of these pipes are, like these ones along the top, I think they're metal, so they're going to be silver. I think this cap there is going to be, well, see, if you look at older vehicles, these filler caps, they tend to be metal. The newer ones tend to be black, either rubber or plastic. I think that's more realistically going to be metal. Obviously this can all stay the same colour, and we'll get some wash in there, and that'll just bring that detail out. These plates there, I think they're either going to be, I think we have a choice really. We can either keep it red, we can go with silver, or we could even go with black. It could be a black painted panel, and I think if we decide to go black, I think some chipping around the edges would be in order. Silver is the obvious choice, but then with having these silver pipes, you know, would it look a bit more exciting if it was black? You know, bringing the what if and it's my model into play, I think I'm tempted to go with black there. But look, you know me, I make the plan at the beginning of the video, and then as I build it, I then change my mind on things, and that's the beauty of the model making. But I think that's going to be the plan. So we'll now ideally I want to rip these out, and then I want to paint them and then put them in. But you've got some little bits in there. They were ever so easy to put in. In fact, one of them's come out. Now I had one of these fall out the other day, this one there, and I had to get it back in with tweezers, and I got it in no problems. But I seem to remember when I put it in originally, I could just put it in with my fingers. Now the trouble with putting it in with tweezers is that you see that as I get the tweezers in, I'm going to run the risk of chipping any paintwork. So ideally I really need to take this off. Now to get this off, I've got to get this off first. Probably going to have to take this silver pipe off, and I think that's probably all I need to strip down. But yeah, so I'll have a little look at it, and we'll do a little plan of action, and then we'll crack on. And I may not, you know, I've got this little plan about black pipes, the rubber pipes being black and the metal pipes being silver, and I might end up painting what is actually a rigid pipe black, and I may end up doing what should be a rubber pipe silver. But I think my rough guide is if it's screwed down like it is there, it's a rubber pipe. If it's not screwed down like this one is, it's going to be a silver pipe. And of course we have this problem that these two, they're obviously going to go somewhere, and at this point in time we don't know where it's going to go. There's a hole there, so something's going to go into that, and there's a hole there, so I guess something's going to go into that. I'm guessing that's going to be the chassis, and if there's a fixing point at the back, there's bound to be a fixing point at the bottom, although it could be this one. So I think it's probably going to sit on top of a chassis, and we'll screw it in from underneath, and then the cab area will screw into there. And I notice that there's a hole. Oh, it's actually for that. So yeah, I've got to keep an eye on the holes. That there's a hole there, and there's a hole on the other side. So is that because something's going to clamp on? Actually, I take back what I said about the wheels. I think the back wheels are going to be a little bit further back, probably about there, because this looks like a crankshaft there. So there'll be another joint there, and then what do you call it, a universal joint somewhere along here, which is then going to spin the wheel. So I think the back wheels will be about there. So this exhaust probably isn't even going to be seen, although the exhaust isn't the problem. So putting the cab on, we can clearly see the front wheel's going to go there, because there's the wheel arch. And at time of filming this, I haven't actually got issues 35, 36, 37, 38, but we know they're coming. So I think front wheel there, back wheel round about there. So there's going to be some kind of chassis to bring it all together. So yeah, and I think I'm going to get away with painting straight onto the pieces. Now when you do weathering, I was originally going to do this with oil paints. However, I have this product which I've had for absolutely ages, and I've actually not used it, but a lot of people are swearing by it, and it's light dirt, and I think that's probably the way to go. If we put light dirt on, I'm hoping that the result will look like less than a month's worth of muck, but If it's too light, we can always add more. If I go in a little bit too heavy with the oil paints and I think, oh, that's too much, I've got to take it all back. So let's have a look. Okay, so here I have my engine. I am so glad I kept spare screws. And I've got my magazines from issue 22 to 34. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards through the magazine, taking out the screws, taking the parts out, until I get to a point where I can access everything. So I've got my 2 screwdrivers. I've got my fire department one, which I'm using for the big screws, and the little screws I use this. I can't remember what this came from. It's not the Root Master because it's too small, but it's a really handy screw. So yeah, let's crack on with it.
I've pounded the road from coast to coast, Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along. Good, rich and thick, a milk chocolate brick, each bite a chunky big mouthful. Yorkie's the shape that real milk chocolate ought to be. So when I still that big old mill, there's plenty more in store for me from that chunky bar of mine.
Okay, that was actually a lot easier than I thought. So I've only really undone 2 magazines worth, which is 33, 34. This bit was the main bit that was in the way. That's come out. See, that's come out. So I'm going to have to put some glue in there. So what I'm going to do now is these bits there that I'm going to pull out and repaint. They really don't, I don't need reference for those. It's, you know, you can see where they go. So I think pulling these out is our next move. But like I say, you know, you really don't need the manual to know where these go. There we go. So I'll take that out. There we go. Look, this is the main bit really, isn't it? Painting this, and then now I've got to remember where this has come from. So I think I've done it enough. I think that goes in there, doesn't it? So I think what I've done there is I'm going to do these pipes black, but I'm going to do the top silver. In fact, I might even take that off as well. So most of these pipes that I've left on, I think they're going to be silver. Possibly. I don't know. We'll see what I find appealing. But I think I'm gonna go through the aesthetically pleasing to penny route. So you guys may not agree, but yeah, I'm gonna take that off. So these are mostly gonna be painted black. These bits here are gonna be silver with silver bits there and silver on the end. And I think that this whole thing is really gonna pop.
On the first day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me a new truck for my deliveries. On the second day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 2 twinkling trees and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the third day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 3 party hats and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 4th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 4 frozen turkeys and a new truck from my deliveries.
Oh, Santa Claus is coming, so Eddie keeps us trucking. He wants to help old Saint Nick on his way. And though the snow is falling, he's wagon wheels he's sewing. We gotta get the goods onto his sleigh. So on the 5th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 5 tons of sprouts, 4 frozen
frozen turkeys,
3 party hats,
2 twinkling trees, and a new truck from my deliveries.
On the 6th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 6 Christmas crackers and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 7th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 7 spotters spotting and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 8th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 8 rolls of wrapping and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 9th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 9 knitted jumpers and a new truck for my deliveries.
Oh, Santa Claus is coming, so Eddie keeps us trucking. He wants to help old Saint Nick on his way. And though the snow is falling, these wagon wheels ain't slowing. We gotta get the goods onto his sleigh.
On the 10th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 10 mince pies and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 11th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me 11 Santa sacks and a new truck for my deliveries.
On the 12th day of Christmas, Eddie gave to me
12 trailers loaded,
11 Santa sacks,
10 mince pies,
9 knitted jumpers,
8 rolls of wrapping,
7 spotters spotting,
6 Christmas crackers,
5 tons of sprouts.
4 frozen turkeys,
3 party hats,
2 twinkling trees,
and a new truck for my deliveries. A new truck for my deliveries. He gave me a new truck for my deliveries. Oh yeah!
Okay, so I've allowed that to dry. Now what I've done is some of these pipes, I'm really not sure if they're going to be rubber or metal, and some of them need a bit more of a touch up. So what I've done, if in doubt, I've painted them silver, because then if I then decide they should be black, I can then paint over the silver with the black. Black and silver, they tend to love each other in that you can paint black over silver and you can paint silver over black. Black will paint over anything, but if it's, for example, if it was yellow, if I'd have put a black down and then gone, oh no, I need yellow on, or a white, it would take many coats. But black on silver is absolutely fine. I haven't gone overboard. Obviously the main reason I'm painting this is because I think it's too much red. So if I then went and painted everything silver, I would then have the problem, oh, there's too much silver. So I think, if I can get it around the right way, I think I've got probably about the right balance. It may not be accurate, but I think it looks lovely. I've got to do these bits in black. See, I've done the silver ends and the clips, and it's not neat. It doesn't need to be neat. The black needs to neaten it all up. And unfortunately, because this is rubber black, it's a little bit of an off black, so I'm going to have to go over these black bits. What I've also done, I'm going to sort of scrape some of it off. I put a little bit of silver in there. This is the part where you'll adjust the tension on the fan belt, and you know, you've only got to adjust that tension once and you're going to scrape all of the paint off. So I've just put a little bit of silver, just more to represent where the red has come off rather than the fact that it's silver. It needs a, but I can probably scrape that off with a, there we go. There we go, I think that looks better. So there we go, just where it's been adjusted. Once it's all been weathered up, it's going to dull it all down a bit. Now the next problem I've got is the silver doesn't really stick too well. So with handling, this silver is going to come off. So I've got to really keep an eye on which bits have been painted, etc. See, I've also missed some bits as well. So they'll need. Well, I've missed a large bit there, haven't I? See if I can just get that now with some. Yeah, that's. So I've got to keep an eye on it as I reassemble it. I've got to look for any bits that I may have accidentally pulled off and just go over it. and I've lost, there we are. So, but I'm finding that multiple coats is making it a lot easier. It's maybe I should have used a primer, but then I'd have had to brush on the primer, and brushing primer on doesn't really work so well. I missed quite a large bit there, so I don't really like using this straight out of the pot for something like this, but for these little touch-ups that I've missed, I think that's fine. So, so what do you guys think at this point? Do you think it looks better? I think I've kind of gone, I don't know, I really don't know if it's accurate anymore, and I don't think I really care. So yeah, the four main bits to paint. We've got this bit here, which I want to do those, the red bits are now going to go black, well, rubber black. This bit, and then I need to repaint these bits, and I think that's going to set that engine off really, really nice. And I think, oh, I've got a spill of paint, and I think, you know, I've not gone too much. If I put too much silver on, I think I run the risk of ruining it, but like, I've just made little bits pop. The only other thing I want to do, and I think that this will get taken care of with the weathering, is that beautiful DAF symbol there. And obviously that would have been sprayed red, because obviously they've sprayed the whole engine. But I think that that's going to get picked up with the weathering. So let's clean my brush from the silver. Now I do apologise, you're going to see a bar of chocolate come in. While I was waiting for this to dry, I was watching Dave Mack builds, and he was doing the Spitfire, and the issue that he was doing, the chocks came with his Spitfire, which then reminded me that I bought chocolates. So I've got my little bar of chocolate, and it's funny because I don't want to show the brand name because it's I'm not being paid to advertise it, so I'm not going to advertise it. But it's a blend of milk and dark chocolate, and I actually quite like it because it's the taste of dark chocolate, but it's softer. Oh, this as well, sorry, I left this bit because I'm going to paint it black, but I'm going to paint this black, not rubber black, and I think that that'll just set that off quite nice, and I'll paint it a nice matte black. Yeah, so this paint said, this chocolate said that it was new, which I didn't think it was new, and I've just started eating it, and it's actually the same chocolate, but it's got little chunks of cocoa in, so it's really, really nice. So completely off subject there, but you know, milk and dark chocolate mixed, how lovely. Right, so you can't really see this too well. I'll see if I paint some of it. This is why I'm going to paint it. I don't know if you can really see that. So this is more of a mucky paint water black rather than a black. But it's called Rubber Black. It's by AK Interactive, and it's really, really nice. I really like it. But the reason I'm painting this, even though it's black, is because I'm going to be painting the other bits black. It's going to create a non-colour match. So I think actually there's a bit of a bad paint job there. So I think I will touch that cap up with silver once this is all dry. So yeah, this is it's more of a very dark grey rather than black, and on camera there's not really you can't really see much of a difference, but in real life you can. So what I'll try and do, just one coat's enough there, and it also gives, it's also it's the finish as well. Right, so if I paint half of that. Can you see the difference? There's really not much difference, but it's just got a little slight bit of grey to it. And when it dries to the finish isn't completely matte. It's an absolutely wonderful paint. And I think by the time we get weathering stuff on there with that colour, I think it's going to be beautiful. So there you can see the colour difference. Just hardly any. It's just subtle. I think this is the key to things like this, is just being subtle. If you put too much on, it just kind of overdoes it, and it just takes away that pop. So right, so I'm going to get on with painting these. This is actually dry quite nicely, so obviously I've got to be more careful with this, and I can only go up to, see there, I've actually missed a bit. So that's what I'm looking for. So I will have to go back over with a silver. So whereas I did it rough, I did it not rough enough. So yeah, this is more careful painting now. Okay, so there's the first tube done, and I think it looks absolutely amazing, absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy with this. So let's get on with the rest of it. Okay guys, so the last bit of black is still drying off. That's not a problem. So I've done all the rubber bits, and I am really happy with that. It really helps having a really good brand of paint, and it just went on so nice. I thinned it down and I painted. It's just the first bit of serious painting I've done with the AKs with a brush. I mostly do airbrushing with them. I do need to just touch up there on, you see where I've left it red? That's actually, I thought I was lavering the silver on, and I actually missed the ends, so I need to just touch those up with the silver. Now these were the bits that I wasn't really sure. Oh, I missed a bit, look. These are the bits I wasn't really sure if I was going to do black or silver, so I painted them silver. To be absolutely honest with you, the reason I've done them rubber is I was just having such a pleasurable time painting, I didn't want to stop. So I didn't. And I don't care what you Eddie Stobart gurus say, the only reason I did these rubber black was because I enjoyed painting them. And if that's not a good enough reason to do them rubber black, then I really don't know what is. So I'll do the little touch-ups on silver on these bits, and then I'm going to leave it. Oh, I've got some more bits that I missed. It's there's so many angles you're looking at this at, and it's so easy just to miss. There's another bit there, so it's so easy to miss. I think I've got everything. So touch up the silver, and then we'll start to put it together. To be honest with you, this is an easier and nicer project than I thought it was going to be. The disassembling of the parts, I really didn't disassemble too much, so that's good. And the painting has just been an absolute pleasure. So what I'm going to do then is, this is still drying. I don't really want to put this on till it's fully dry. You may have noticed on the first coat I dried it off with an airbrush, no paint, just the air. That helps to dry it off. I just wanted to dry it quickly enough to do a second coat. Now obviously I've got one protective panel there in silver, this one in black. What I am going to do with this, I'm going to get a sponge and I'm going to do some very light chipping on the edges, and I think that would be appropriate. I don't think it's against what Eddie Stobart is. I also need to do some cleanup here, but I think the cleanup is going to be quite easy because this paint isn't sticking very well to the model. Oh, actually that's meant to be there. So yeah, a little bit of overpaint. I did do the edges there silver. That can either be painted silver or it can just be chipping, you know, where it's worn away. But yeah, no, I'm so much happier with this than I thought I was going to be, and I thought I was going to be happy. So let's crack on with the silver then.
Treats, fluffy and light, cause he knows it won't spoil his appetite.
Oh no, the bridge has gone. Old Red can't carry on.
But smart old Blue, he took the Milky Way.
Okay, so now the fun begins. Got to put it all back together again now. So, one thing I didn't do, putting this bit back together, no problems, I can see where that goes. Putting this bit back together, not a problem. I just can't remember which way round, whether it goes that way or that way. I think it goes that way, but I'll have to check the magazine for that. This bit isn't a problem. I think this is the one that comes out of there. Now, what I've ended up doing here is, actually that's going to go back, no problems. Right, so what I've now got is one black wire, black tube, and 2 silver ones. I'm tempted to paint these 2 black now to even them up, but I'm just going to hold off on it because at the moment it looks interesting. So yeah, it looks quite nice, I think, but it's you know, at the same time it looks odd, so I'll have a think about that. So let's try and get this assembled as best I can. I'll obviously have to use the magazine to put these together, and then I've got to find the stage in the magazine. I can't remember which way round. This is a little pointy out bit there, and I can't remember if that pointy out bit goes there or if it goes there, and you don't know if that's going to be vitally important to get that right. So let's go for it. Okay, so that's all put back together. I did have to consult the manual on a few areas. I needed to put this bit in. There was a bit there that needed to go in before this, and I tried to put that bit in first. So as I touched some up, I looked at this and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do that black. I'm going to do that rubber black. I just felt it looked a little bit odd, and then once I saw these other wires, there's one coming across here, and I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. So this is what I'm finished with, and Do you know what? I don't care what anyone says. I think that looks amazing, and I don't often say, I don't often praise my work that much, but I think that has really set it off, and now you can see so much more detail. It's just popping out. There's still a lot of detail you can't see because of the one colour. If I bring this in nice and close, things like that. The fins on the cylinders there, but I think panel wash is really going to make that pop. But look at it, you can't deny that's not nice. That is really, really nice. Did I get that right? You can't deny it's not nice. You can't deny it's nice. So yeah, I think this is amazing. I was a little bit worried about this screw there, because when I removed it, you can see the screw in there. It's all full of plastic, so it's threaded it. But I thought I'm not going to worry too much because that's held in with 2 screws. So that one went back in fine. But this one I put a different screw in. It wasn't the one that was originally in there. And it seems to have gripped that really well. So yeah. There is a slight movement to it. I can't remember if it was a movement before, but it's fine. It won't be moving around once it's sat on the shelf. So what I need to do now is the scary bit, and that's to put some wash on it. And I'm actually going to turn the camera off now. I'm going to edit the video up to the point I'm at. I really don't know whether to go for this AK, that's pigment. I don't know whether to go for this, which I've used a lot and I know exactly what result I'm going to get, or to go for this that I've never used, or go for oils, which I know I can guess the result I'm going to get. This is my F14, and if you look on the seats, they've been panel washed with an oil paint. And the beauty with the oil paints is that I've got 24 different colours. So I can go on to Google and sort of say, what do I need to make dirt? Which is obviously, there's going to be a brown involved. There's going to be a black involved, and I can make the colour up. So yeah, I'm going to stop the camera here. Obviously, in about 10 seconds, you're going to see what I've decided. But while I edit this video up to this point, I'll then decide how I'm going to do it. But yeah, if I stop there, I'm really, really, really happy. Okay, so I'm going to start weathering it up. Now, when I did off camera, I had an old bit of a couple of bits of models, and I used this light dirt. And this is really, really, really good, but it's not what we're looking for today. What I've done is I've put it on there, used it properly, and then I tried to clean it right off using water, and it cleans off really well. But as you see, it is light dirt. We don't want light dirt, we want oil. I also did a little bit on this test piece. You can see where I've cleaned it up. All it's doing is just adding dirt to it. This isn't dusty. The other thing I did, I posted this in Facebook, and I got a couple of nice little comments from it. However, 2 things I didn't do. One is partially on purpose. Now, the actual fan blades in there, another guy, he painted his yellow, and they look really, really nice. So I'm arming and arm whether to do it. Now, this next bit, I've missed this pipe out here, and I feel really, really silly, because I'll tell you a quick story. Years ago, when I was a taxi driver, I had that split on me on a Saturday night, and I reckon I lost about £300 worth of income. I took it to the garage on the Monday. It cost me £5 to replace. It's just a little rubber hose. So I know that's rubber. I know that for a fact, and that's why I feel a little bit silly. So what I'm going to do when I do the oil paints, to make it all one long fast forwarded scene, I'll paint that silver and black just like I have done the other bits, and then I'll do all the rest as well. Now what I've got here are some oil paints, and I've decided I'm going to make an oil wash. So I want something that's going to resemble oil, but oil paints, by the nature of them, have got oil in them, and it's the oil that we don't want. So you really need to put it on a piece of cardboard. As you see, like, all the oil is starting to seep out of it, and that's what we want. So while I've got a brown there, I've got a black. Now obviously the natural oil, fresh oil, is a nice light golden colour, but as it gets used it gets dirtier and dirtier. So I've got the brown and the black, and then if you ever sort of look at oil, it's got like a rainbow effect on it. So I've got a little bit of dark Prussian blue, which might be a little bit too dark. I've got a lighter blue, I've got a red, and I've got a yellow. And what I'm going to do is just mix them together, and then we'll make a little bit of a wash. Then we'll dilute it down with white spirits, and then we'll apply it all over. And I'm looking mainly for a pin wash, so it'll be really quite heavily diluted. And then we'll leave it on for a little while, let it start to dry, and then what we'll do is we'll get a cotton bud with a dampened with white spirits, and we'll just get any excess that we don't want off. So yeah, nice and simple. So let's crack on.
What's your angle? This is Eddie Stobart driving a big rig. Oh, I've got you in my sights just up the road. This is Eddie Stobart, I'll move over, let you in. But I've got an heavy load, and I must be there by 10. My foot's down to the floor, and I can't do any more. It's a 38-tonner trucking down the road. She's a rig I like to drive.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting, and they had to hire a new one.
Okay, so I pretty much swamped that in the oil wash. You see it's pretty mucky. So what we need to do now is we need to wipe off as much as we can, and then that will just leave anything in the recesses. If we've got any little bits that we can't get into with the kitchen roll, we'll use cotton bud. So you'll see that there, it's actually not quite dry there, but we'll get in as close as we can, and it'll just pick out the detail. Now normally you would do this with white spirit, but because of the nature of this paint, the type of paint that this part work uses, it just doesn't stick to it much anyway. So we'll be able to do that, but that's all we're going to do, is we're just going to wipe it. And you'll see that if we wipe it carefully, you see how it's going to get left in the recesses, and it's just going to pick out that detail. So yeah, fun work begins now. Let's crack on with it. So as I say, we'll wipe as much as we can with a kitchen roll, and the rest we'll finish off with the cotton bud.
Yes, this is Eddie Stobart, I'll move over, let you in. And I've got my heavy load, and I must be there by 10. My foot's down to the floor, and I can't do any more. She's my 38-tonner trucking down the road. It's a rig I like to drive, and she makes me feel alive. My 38-tonner trucking down the road. Well, I'm Eddie Stobart, and I'll let you in. Please just smile and give away. trucking down the road. You know this brick, she ain't so small, and she'll always get me home. My 38-tonner pounding down the road. This brick, she ain't so small, and she'll always get me home. My 38-tonner trucking down the road.
Okay, so I think I'm done here now. Basically what you need to do is choose a level of muck that you want to go for and keep it consistent. If you want it very mucky, make sure it's very mucky all over. Sorry, I keep finding bits that I've not done well enough. So if you want it lightly mucked, don't have one bit that's absolutely filthy and one bit that's been completely clean, sparkling. So keep it consistent. So what you'll find that by using cotton buds and kitchen roll, the deep details you won't be able to get into, and they will naturally be mucky anyway. I'll keep doing this for ages. So even the bits that have been cleaned have got this very slight darkness about it, so it doesn't look pristine straight out of the factory. I think it looks a clean engine. What we've done is we've tried to pick out some of the details. So you see now, if we ever get a focus, it likes to focus on my hand but not on the piece. So all this detail is now popped out, it's all visible. You see the DAF sign there, yeah, that pops out even though it's hidden by wires and tubes and things, it's visible. So you'll see that detail. Round here where there's an awful lot going on, it's a bit muckier where the muck is collected. The only thing is, I think I've got this at the right stage. I think there are a few more little bits to add to the engine. Oh, there's a pipe there that's really needs a bit of a clean. So again, if you're going for, if you think this is a little bit too mucky for you, add more white spirit to the actual paint, so that it's not so thick when you lay it on. These oil paints are incredibly thick, and you know, I added an awful lot of white spirit to it, and it still made a very heavy paint. But this is actually a really good first time to try weathering, really, because when you're doing it over paint, it tends to stick to the paint a bit more. So you need white spirits to get it off. This paint is just really not sticking very well to it. It will take a few days to totally dry. What's going on there? There's a big, I must have missed with a paintbrush. So there's a few other details that I've not done, like I've not done the grill on the front there. I'll do that on its own separately. As I say, this is going to take a good few days to really set. Normally I would say, if I'm doing this with scale models, I would seal all of this in with varnish. I'm not going to do it with this, but I think once it's installed, as you can see, that I've got my hands very mucky doing it, and this is where I just can't help touching the oil. You know, as I'm cleaning it, I'm touching the bottom, or I'm touching. But this is one of these jobs where you could just sit there and do this for ages, and you'll find a little bit to do. There's just so much detail, and but yeah, I'm quite impressed with it. All the heavy little bits there. In fact, I've actually chipped the paint off there. Look at that, I've chipped the paint off the original. But that actually adds to it. That's a bit of chipping, isn't it? So yeah, I don't believe this would be in pristine condition. I know it says about cleaning the vehicles every day, and they are clean, but I don't think these would be, the engines would be that clean. And I think that for an engine that you can call clean, I think that's probably about the right amount of muck. Again, it's all down to you. You might want yours really mucky, you might want yours really clean, but at the very least I've got that detail to pop. So as far as I'm concerned, that's mission accomplished. When you can see the DAF sign like that, you know, it's, you're there, aren't you? So yeah, I'm now looking forward to installing this. Every time I look at this, it's just, I feel like I could clean a bit more of it. But that's the beauty of the weathering, isn't it? So there we go, guys. One weathered engine without added interest. I've got the wires on. I'm really impressed with this. I'm really happy with it. Changing the colour of the wires. Should Harshett have given us coloured wires, do you think? Maybe not. I don't know. It's you know, it's the old thing that we found with the Route Master, which is if you make this highly detailed, it then puts it out of the reach of the inexperienced modeler. But then if you make it too simple, the more experienced modelers just aren't interested. Again, I think just like the Route Master, they've probably got this balance right. So I've just found another bit. There we go. So I think they have the balance right. Those that are happy building out of the magazine, and this is something I do like to state, if you are an out of the magazine builder, no modifications whatsoever. I know there's companies out there that do upgrades. If you don't buy a single upgrade, you don't do any painting, you don't do any of this oil, you know, anything that I've done here, you will still get a very nice model. This is in danger of becoming the best model I've made from Harshett, well, from any part work company. Better than the Route Master, which I don't want to admit to that, because I think the Route Master was wonderful. But yeah, so guys, tell me what you think. Is it something that you're interested in doing? Just as importantly to me, is it something that prior to this video you thought maybe you wouldn't be able to do, and now watching me do this you're thinking, oh, I could actually do that? I don't class myself as a top modeler. All of the techniques that I've used here I feel are basic. So yeah, is it something you can do? You will require a little bit more patience than normal to do this oil. It's not, you know, it's not just like screwing screws in. You know, we already possess patience by doing the model, but this does take the patience to an extra level. You can see how long it's taken me to get the oil off, and it's almost a shame that you've got to almost ruin the model to then take it all off. But I think the results are worth it. So there's my model, guys. On camera this doesn't look great, so I'm going to leave that for a few days and let it really set. If there's any areas I'm not quite happy with, because don't forget when paint dries it changes colour a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. Even these screws that I've not painted, they've really dulled down a little bit. The reason I've not done anything with these screws is I think the position of the engine, I don't think they're really going to be showing too much. But yeah, guys, so there is my modified engine. I hope you've enjoyed the build. I hope you enjoy what I have been doing on top of all of this, the actual build. So next week we're going to go back to doing the builds. We have issues 35, 36. At the time of filming this, I haven't received my issues, but I am filming this about 3 weeks in advance, and I can't even remember what we're getting. I think it's some circuit boards for the front there, and then we're moving on to wheel arches, I think. So there you go, guys. I will leave you looking at this, and I hope to catch you in another video. Take care, guys. Bye bye.